let's give people like an idea of what's a price range for that 20 hours a month in the administrative side, like from what to what. It's like a general price range people will pay on a monthly basis.
That will be from $200 to 270.
Okay, so I just want people to understand this. Hey there, everyone. Thanks for joining me for another episode of the Female Empowered Podcast. So this is part 2, número dos, for the Meet My Team segments. And today I am going to be talking to my virtual assistant, Sarah, who, if you've listened to my podcast or you're in any of the mentorship programs, you've heard of Sarah, you've met with Sarah, you might be working with Sarah. But what I wanted to do is talk about a little bit about what she does for not only Pilates in the Grove, but Pilates in the Grove and the Krista Gurka, like Beyond the Movement brand, or under one umbrella. And we've been working, we were just talking about this pre-show. So over 3 years now, because her daughter was literally, I think, just born when we first started working together. And Sarah is in the Philippines, which to some of you might be like, how does that even work? We've never met in person. I feel like I know you a ton. I know her kids, Dylan and Quinn. I know her like Catch Creative Labs. When she first started with me, we were both pretty new to this thing. And so it's been like great evolving over the last several years. So why don't you go ahead, Sarah, introduce yourself, tell us your company's name, a little bit about your company, and then we'll get into all the fun things you do with me and my team.
Yes. So hi again. Name is Sarah. So I am your virtual assistant from across the globe, different time zone. I run a small agency called Catch Creative Labs. It's a VA agency that started to really grow during the pandemic because that's when everyone just pivoted online. We do end-to-end virtual assistance services. So what we mean by that is we cover almost all your needs in terms of admin work, data entry, multimedia editing, graphics, videos, audio, podcast, email management, website, backend management. I'm sometimes also a therapist to some of my clients. So they're like, what do I do? How do I deal with this? Sometimes I also help them, redirect them to where they should be focusing their energy, because as I realized in the last few years working with founders is that they have a lot of things that they want to accomplish and they get overwhelmed. So I'm the shock absorber, brain dump person. So that has become part of my role, not just a virtual assistant. So I try to rein them in as well sometimes. And I started the agency with my husband over 3 years ago. Almost started with the same time I started with Krista. It was just us two. I just wanted to work freelance, doing virtual assistance things while I'm pregnant. And then it just blew from there. So I started hiring people, outsourcing some of the tasks, because a lot of people reach out to me because they needed work because of the pandemic. So that is how we eventually grew to a 12, 15, 20 team right now. And that's how we started. So we started with very basic admin, content creation, and just moved from there.
Yeah, Sarah's being very modest and humble, but she has a large agency. It's when she first started, it was just her. And you and your husband was a little bit, but it wasn't even like full time. Like you had just started doing freelance on your own. And 4 years later, you have a team that you put together. So Sarah, which one of the reasons I love working with Sarah, who's the founder of her agency, and Latasha, who's the founder of her agency, who Latasha will be on another episode of Meet My Team. And so I love working with female founders. We're all going through the same thing. We are all have the same questions and stresses and worries and challenges and all of that. So she's being very humble, but she has like a very large operation that she is running from across the globe. And so people will often say to me, how does that work? And I'm like, the truth is, it almost works great for us because we're literally 12 hours difference. Like we're recording this, it's 9 a.m. in Miami. And is it 9 p.m. there or am I an hour off?
Yes.
9 p.m.
It's
over
not,
there. Like,
yeah.
yeah. So Sarah and I, it's never really been an issue. Sarah works. I know that she's usually online. I'm East Coast time. So she's usually online 12 or 1-ish sometimes, but what's great because I'll get up in the morning and she has done all the work from the evening. And I know that I have a few hours to catch up with her just in case there's something that's missing or I have a question or where can I find this? And if we're in the middle of a launch or something is important, then we'll brainstorm ahead of time. Hey, can you be online at this time just so that if there's any troubleshooting? And we communicate via Slack and Asana, sometimes email, but very little, maybe Voxer, very little. But I'll tell you a little bit. So how I met Sarah or started working with Sarah. I was in 2019 is when I started like the coaching business just randomly. Like people were like, can I ask you questions? I had a bunch of people. I couldn't do one-on-ones anymore. And I was in a mentorship group and everyone was using VAs. And I just had a hard time because I'm such a control freak. I was like, how do I use a virtual assistant that I've never met before that's across the country? And my facilitator in my group said, don't come to the next call unless you've basically not found a VA, but at least put the posting up or the listing up. So I went on onlinejobs.ph and I think I just posted something. Was it like a PDF or something like that that I
Yeah,
asked?
it
Yeah.
was to create a PDF for PITG. I still remember
Yes.
that.
That's what I knew. It was something, I don't even think I really needed that. Like I was just like, what can I do that's small that will show me their kind of work ethic? And I think I just posted, I'm looking for creating this PDF. It was for Pilates in the Grove. And I think I put, I don't know, I'm going to pay $50 or something to that effect. And really what I was looking for was how quickly do people respond? How quickly do they turn around the work? And then what's the quality of their work? And Sarah won. I think she like not only one of the things that I don't know if I ever told you this, but one of the things that really impressed me was you didn't ask me any questions. You like went to my website and you pulled my logo and you pulled the colors and you pulled the branding without even asking me. And I was like, okay, done. And she turned it around the quickest. And from there, I said, would you like to do, I think, like a 3-month trial, 5 hours a week or something like that? And then it transpired to 20 hours a week. And then at some point, I was like, can I just bring you on full time? What's your retainer? I want you to work full time for Krista Gurka and Pilates in the Grove. And so, why don't you describe to people what it is? Let's talk first about what it is that you do for Pilates in the Grove and Krista Gurka, like, which is a lot. So we can go into what you do for us. And then what I'd love to do is talk about what does 5 hours a week look like for with working with a virtual assistant. So with you working with me full time, what does that look like in your day or for your team?
Yeah, for both, because this is the same as Krista Gurka and the Pilates at the Grove brand. So we essentially do the end-to-end thing. We call it our full suite. So we now have plans. So 3 years ago, I don't have plans. I just have, this is my hourly rate if you want me to work with you. But right now, we went ahead and created like different tiers for the services that we offer. We divided them between general VA work and tech VA work. So anything that falls under general VA work, that will be administrative, let's say data entry, transferring files like doc to PDF to slides, slide to stuff like that, cloud management, Google Drive management, and stuff like that. We do about a bit of social media management under general VA. We don't consider it as a tech task because we're basically just approving people inside Facebook groups, scheduling posts, just monitoring any responses or any comments and things like that. We don't do any ads related tasks because number one, I am not really trained to do that, because for me personally, I don't want to take on tasks wherein I have zero idea about, even if I know that I can hire someone or outsource it, because the control freak that I am, I want to be able to monitor the task properly. So we don't do ads for the time being, but I always have someone that I can refer to. And then under our tech VA services, that's where email management, integrations, website management and integrations fall under. We have podcasts also under our tech VA services. And then right now for Pilates in the Grove and Krista Gurkha, we do both. So we do administrative, we do multimedia editing falls under our tech VA services as well. So that means everything from audio to video to graphics. We edit everything. And then in terms of website management, we do formatting, whether you are using a custom backend or whether you're using a builder like Kajabi, Wix, or Squarespace. We do offer website design and development if you want to do like custom coding, like from scratch coding, but that is like a separate service as a whole, because I have a separate team who does that, who are not really VAs, but you really have a UI UX designer and a web developer with you and a web designer with you. So with Pilates in the Grove and Krista Gurkha, we do almost everything. This is Krista says. And then we also do a bit of customer service in terms of inbox management. So we either reply to people using a script given by the clients. For Krista Gurkha, we don't do that, but we do sometimes respond in the Facebook groups for the community and the inner circle, especially if there are technical questions and I get tagged or I see something like there's a question that I know I would be able to answer. So that's a bit of customer service going on in there. So right now, that is the range of the services that we offer. But considering that 90% of our clients is in the fitness, wellness, health niche, we also have a bit of background in terms of EMRs. That is something that I don't know ever existed 3 years ago, but now I know things like JNapp, Hello Note, and stuff like that, Faxit. These are things that we're able to assist you with. But we do get a lot of questions in terms of billing, but unfortunately, it is something that we have not covered yet, because number one, there are, for some platforms that you actually use in the US, there's limitations because of privacy and security and stuff like that. There's limitations. So we might be needing like a private VPN just to access those platforms. But right now, we can manage your EMRs. We can transfer data if you need data to be transferred, or if you want data to be entered into your EMR from, let's say, an Excel spreadsheet, and you don't want to spend 5 hours manually inputting those stuff. That is something that we also do. Recently, we also help you with Moments, which is your scheduling and booking app. And we do have a couple of clients wherein they use also Moments, PunchPass. So these are things that we are familiar with and are currently handling as well.
Yeah, she does all, for at least for me, she does like really all of the back end operations. So she manages our website, she designs our website, both Krista Gurkha and Pilates in the Grove. She uploads our newsletters to ConvertKit, both, and emails, both Krista Gurkha and Pilates in the Grove. So I'm not in there messing around with formatting and figuring out how to put this GIF in or how to put this photo in. Like and a lot of times I give her a lot of agency to come up with designs or pictures or funny things that go in there. She sets up automations. And like, for example, this just happened this morning, where for some of you, if you're following me, or you might have seen my ads on Facebook for my audio courses. And I noticed that we got a lot of opt-ins, but then I was like, in the sequence, it doesn't look like someone's in there. Now, again, a lot of the time, I don't know what I'm looking at all the time. So I'm just quickly ask Sarah, hey, is there something that's not connected? And she looked into it and she was like, yes, she figured out what happened. And she was like, okay, this is what we're going to do next time. And what happened was there was someone on our team that was doing it. And when she left, I didn't follow up on that process, which is not a big deal. It's not the end of the world. So now we know moving forward, we'll dump them into the sequence and automation, but I don't have to spin my wheels in ConvertKit trying to figure out what to do.
Yes.
Sarah does that. I just Slacked her and I said, can you find the answer? And what's great about you, Sarah, I will say, is even if you don't know it right away, like she'll sit on the helpline with ConvertKit. So I don't have to be the one doing it. That
Yeah,
saves me a lot of
we've
time.
had yes, we've had experience wherein, especially Abby, my lead VA. I'm gonna tell her, can you contact a Joby or GoDaddy or whoever to figure out what's going on? And then it just takes forever and it uses up your time. And that is, as a founder or as somebody who's running a business, it's really a waste of time to wait 4 hours on a helpline just to get a response. And that is why I think that is the one thing that we appreciate with you and with most of our clients, is that they allow us to figure out what the problem is and figure out the solution to it, as opposed to trying to solve it yourselves and then everything just blows out of proportion. And that's the only time we're able to get in, and then it takes double or triple the time to fix something that should have been endorsed to us earlier, because at the end of the day, if we're the ones who set it up, then we should be able to figure it out and come up with a solution in the first place. And with clients right now that we have, we try to train them to go to us first and not to try to fix things on your own, because as a founder myself, I'm going to try to fix it myself. At the end, later on, I was able to train myself to be like, I sit on it and then I talk to my team and look for somebody within my team who is more well-versed to fix it for me or fix it with me, instead of me trying to figure it out. Because again, I want to make sure that we are really understanding what's going on, what was the problem, and what would be the solution for that.
Yeah. And I'm still bad at that because I will still sometimes go in and try to fix things myself. And then I usually end up having to message Sarah. I'm like, I fucked something up. I don't know what I did, but can you check this for me? And then I'm like, I'm sorry. I just went in and tried to do it myself. But most of the time, one of the things I do like about using Kajabi, I will say, is it is user friendly enough that
Yes.
if it's like if I see a spelling error, I can go in and
Yes.
fix the spelling. I don't have to message you and be like, Sarah, on page 4 of this, the A needs to be an O. Like I could go in and look at it. But for the most part, I let Sarah and her team do the work because they're good at it. They can design things faster than I can, right? Like I like being in Canva, but at the same time, is that really a good use of my time? Not necessarily. And our working relationship has evolved over the last several years, again, from being like 5 hours a week to full time. And I know that she knows my business inside and out. She knows my branding inside and out. She'll offer suggestions sometimes. And what's great is there's no, what's the word I'm looking for? I feel comfortable saying to her, I'm not sure about that design. Can we change the colors? And
Yeah.
I love that she also comes to me with certain ideas too. Like we just recently were trying to change the podcast audiograms. And she's like, hey, we're trying this with another client. What do you think? And I was like, oh, I really like that. Let's start doing it. And then one of the things that went back, I was like, I think my head's getting cut off. Like it was easy. It's just an easy communication back and forth. I don't know if she's, oh, this girl again with her, with her perfectionism, but I feel very comfortable. I don't feel badly asking, can we edit this, or saying, oh, I love that. Let's do more of that. And so it's really easy to work with Sarah and her team, even though she is 12 hours ahead of me. So because I think then people are like, I don't need a virtual assistant full time. So and I also think people underestimate what 5 hours can help
Yes.
them, like how much that can help. If someone wants to hire, what's the lowest package you have? Is it 5 hours or is it like 20 hours now? The
It is
smallest
now at
package.
20 hours. Yep.
Okay. So what is like 20 a month? So that's still 5 hours a week, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what does 5 hours a week get a newer business owner that's maybe a solopreneur that's on their own, but what can you take off of their plate in 5 hours a week?
Yeah, that will cover any administrative task. So any data entry task, social media scheduling and monitoring of your social media accounts, that's covered 5 hours a week because we'd only spend probably for social media monitoring just an hour a day to check everything. And then we can do data entry. The data entry would depend on how much data or how manually we're inputting things. But the beauty of platforms right now is, number one, we can either just zap things. So using a platform like Zapier to integrate things, probably the setting up will just take a few hours so that we can test, make sure that everything's working. But once everything is working, it's just a matter of checking. So let's just say that's another hour or so, or less than even, just to check to make sure that data is really being zapped into wherever platform you're supposed to be. If you're running a podcast and you are publishing twice a month, and your podcast is only going to run 20-30 minutes per episode, we can even cover that, because again, we have our own, what do you call this, like workflows and SOPs on how we can streamline things. So we don't do everything manually. We don't have, it was 5 years ago that we would be doing things manually. But we in today's environment, with all these AI tools coming out and stuff like that, we've also evolved in such a way that me and my team are always in the lookout for how we can make things more efficient and productive. Because me personally, I don't want to be sitting down for 10 hours manually captioning or transcribing something. So we now have a platform for that. So if you have a podcast that runs for 20-30 minutes only and you publish once or twice a month, you are covered in the 20 hours. Multimedia editing for graphics and short form videos. So we're talking about video clips that you post in Reels, on YT Shorts. Those can be covered in your 20 hours as well. And anything back-end management, like for example, you just publish a blog once a month, or you publish a blog once a week. If all we need to do is upload it on your website and format it and make sure that all of your keywords are there, that's not going to take us more than 30 minutes to do. If you want us to schedule a newsletter, we can do that. It's not going to take us more than an hour to do. Your 20 hours, full suite, we can do all of that. The only time we would ask for an upgrade or ask you to upgrade is if you add long form YouTube and video editing. So when we say long form, any video that exceeds 45 minutes and you want it to be stylized or customized, you have a custom intro, outro, fancy transitions and all that, will use up your 20 hours. Another thing that will promise to ask you to upgrade for more than 20 hours is if you would ask us to do any copywriting. So copywriting, because I do have copywriters on my team, emails, long form captions, website copy. If you would be needing that, then unfortunately your 20 hours won't be enough per month, especially if you're going to be asking us to publish a weekly blog or a weekly article or an SEO article. And but in essence, if you need minimal work, if you just want to have someone checking the day-to-day admin and make sure that your website, your email, and your social media accounts are updated, your 20 hours, it covers all of that. Right now, let's say about 50% of our clients are in the minimum plan. And most of the work that we do for them is all that grunt boring work, which is the data entry, the uploading of the blog, the responding to people in Facebook, the responding to people in Instagram DMs. So if that is something that you want taken off your plate, then we can easily do that. And as long as you give us like the right direction, like direct us, give us your SOPs, give us your workflow. That is one of the things that I ask for during onboarding. Then we monitor our hours. So I actually have somebody who checks weekly and monthly, so that by the end of a billing cycle, we would see if you exceeded, or if you've exceeded, or if you haven't really used up your hours. So if you haven't used up your hours, we usually tell clients that, you know what, you're not maximizing your plan. Maybe there are still things that you want to send our way so that you can maximize your monthly cap on your hours. So I try to be very open in terms of communicating with them on where their hours went, if they need to upgrade, if they need to give us more tasks.
Yeah. And let's just I want you, I'm going to say, I want you because Sarah edits the podcast and she does my show notes and everything. Make sure you put your Catch Creative Labs links and all that stuff into the show notes. We will do that. But let's give people like an idea of what's a price range for that 20 hours a month in the administrative side, like from what to what. It's like a general price range people will pay on a monthly basis.
That will be from $200 to 270.
Okay, so I just want people to understand this. Even let's say $300 a month. Okay, that is what most people in our industry charge for 1 hour of work. Okay, so for Sarah to take 20 hours of work, and it's not even just the hours, it's the energy and the bandwidth that you have. It's why we get frustrated. We get frustrated and feel burnt out because we're spending 2 hours trying to figure out how to use Zapier to like connect your scheduling platform to your email software. And like Sarah can do that in 3 seconds. She understands how to do that. Her team understands how to do that. Editing your own podcast was someone's, oh, I can just do it myself. Yeah, I can do a lot of things myself. It doesn't mean that I should do that myself. My time is better utilized doing something else. So again, for $300 a month, okay. So it's one of those things that people are like, I don't know if I can afford it. I say you not afford it. Does that like you can't grow if you don't start to relinquish control? And Sarah's team is amazing at what they do. There's always a learning curve with anyone that comes on your team. Okay. So there has to be open communication. And if you're thinking, Sarah, I don't have SOPs, like they're all in my head. That is something Sarah and her team can do. I tell this to people all the time. You can sit down and you can talk out your SOPs if you want. You can record them, and then you can have Sarah's team put them into an SOP. Like you can create it, I don't care what, an Asana, she can do it in a Word doc, she can create a PDF, she can do it in a slide deck, but you don't have to spend the time. Like obviously you need the process, like you need to give her the process. But if it's easier for you to just record it and say, hey, this is how I check people in, this is how you do that. Like her team can listen to your recordings. I don't know what plan that would be in, but what I'm saying is they can do that. Like I send Sarah Word docs and I'm like, hey, can you create a slide deck for my next presentation? She brands it for me, she puts it together, and then we'll like, sometimes I don't even give her a whole lot of guidance. And I'm like, just do it. And then once you get the started, we'll fish it out.
Yeah.
But so what would like if someone's, I just want you to do all of it, what is that range for people?
That will be from 800 to 1,000
Even so,
monthly.
like
And
amazing.
if even for because we have our basic, standard, and premium. If you go for the highest tier that we have, and that will fall under the 1,000 plus plan monthly, you actually have your own dedicated VA. Aside from communicating with me, my lead VA is part of, you're going to be communicating with her, and then we open our messenger apps for you. So you have your box or you have your WhatsApp, anywhere that you feel most comfortable in communicating with me. Because of course, when you're on the highest, like in the premium tier, it means that we are doing a lot of things simultaneously, launching, monitoring, publishing stuff all at the same time. And it's important for me that you're not communicating just with me. You have to be able to communicate with somebody also from my team. And in some instances, for clients that are under these plans, my team is actually part of their project management work. For example, in Asana, you have communication also with my team members, because I'm not online 24/7. So I also need to sleep sometimes. So that is why I ensured that you would be able to communicate with other team members and not just me.
Yeah. And I tell Sarah this all the time. You should not be doing all of the stuff. But yes, so even if it's $1,200 a month, like if you think about the time, and not just time, it's energy expenditure that you are. So if you have a team, if you're doing upwards of high six figures, 7 figures. This is like someone that can significantly help, your life. And I say that in the fact that like you will have more energy then to spend on doing the things that you really love. So I ask Sarah this all the time. Because one of the things that I get from people, especially if they've never used a VA, and especially if they've never used a VA in another country. So, what can you say to our listeners when they're like, how is that possible when the VA in the United States is charging me $5,000 a month? So that I think people, if they are not knowledgeable of it and they don't like, they might feel like they're doing something wrong because the price differential United States is so different. So do you have feedback on that for them?
For me personally, probably because I came from, before I did VA or freelancing work, I actually came from a corporate environment, and I actually worked with offshore clients already. My background is that I have been working with offshore clients for the last 10 plus years. So the price point actually came from, number one, the skill level that I have and my team has. Number two is the current pricing or the pricing that we have in the freelancing industry or the freelancing niche. So I do have clients that ask, this rate is, I can just pay some money here in the United States with lower rate than you're asking me.
I think people in the United States charge 10 times more than
Yes,
what you
yes.
charge. And so what I get from a lot of people, I feel badly. I think that I'm like ripping them off, like meaning you off. And I'm like, Sarah sets her pricing based on
Cost of living here.
correct. And so we're not, how would I say it? I'm not
You're not
taking
lowballing.
advantage. Correct.
Yeah.
I'm not taking advantage of making people work for peanuts. Like she sets her pricing based on where you are. And so I think sometimes people in the United States are like, oh my gosh, I feel bad. I'm doing something so horrible. And I'm like, Sarah wouldn't charge that if that wasn't allowing her to have the lifestyle that you wanted. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
We base it on the cost of living. We base it on what is the competitive salary for people with the same skills as me who are actually working in office-based companies here in the Philippines. And then whatever base rate that we have, any add-ons that we put on there, for example, for me in my agency, any add-ons that was added is for if we're using any premium platform so that we can finish the job for you. So those are the add-ons. So it's not that we are setting our price low so that you would hire us and not hire somebody in the United States because we're much cheaper, as they say. It's just, and not also because our work is not of standard as the same as people in the United States. We do have the same skills. We do have the same access to the platforms that VAs are using over in the United States. It's just that our pricing is based on what's competitive where I'm located. And to be honest, there are other VAs who actually charge way lower than us. Like, for example, VAs who are based in India, or because again, you would look at the cost of living of where the VA is located. So where they are, again, the cost of living is lower, but we cannot always assure that the standard or this quality is the same, or they cannot assure that. But for me, there is always the assurance. I tell them that we use the same platforms, whatever platforms that you're accessing there, we can also access here. We use it here. And that is the basis of our rate. Also, in the last year or so, we did a bit of increase, and that is because we have adjusted our plan. So before, if you're just working with me, then of course you're going to be paying a smaller fee. But if you're working with a team, then your fee is basically the salary of 2 or 3 people who are working, as opposed if you're paying 200 for 3 people. So you actually save, and at the same time, you're getting the same quality of work and the amount of work done. would probably be the base rate of 1 VA
Yeah.
in the United States. So
Yeah.
I think that's an advantage for you, to be
100%, 100%. I get from people when I refer, and I usually I say, I want to connect you with Sarah. So if you're in our Beyond the Movement programs, Sarah works with a ton of the businesses in there, either on one-offs or in retainers. And sometimes I'll say to them in a coaching call, or if we're talking about doing a new funnel or how are we getting email, and I'm like, are you still working with Sarah? And they say yes. I'm like, this is a Sarah's and her team job. Like, you don't need to be spending 2 hours this week working this out. It's important, I think, for business owners to know and understand the process, but they don't have to be the ones doing it. So I'm like, tell Sarah, she understands this whole process. Let her know you miss this, and this, and she'll take care of it. So one of the things that some people initially are like, is like, oh, I don't know, I feel bad. That seems so low. I'm like, it's not apples to apples. Sarah's team does an amazing job. It's been so wonderful for me to watch her grow and her company grow over the last 4 years, and her to become like this incredible leader and boss, and go on vacation with her kids and family and spend time with her children, get away from the computer. And so it's been a really great pleasure to watch this grow, and her work and her team's work is exceptional. And I'm so happy that we've been part of each other's team forever. I refer a ton of people to her, and I'm always like, listen, Sarah, don't take people though just for, if you don't want to work with these people, just, you can say no, it's okay. But even if you're thinking like, oh my God, how do I make this process work? There are times where Sarah and I don't speak for a couple weeks because it's all done. Like, for example, this episode gets recorded, right? We have in our Asana board, there's a whole process for podcasts. So there's a date that says Krista records, and then there's a following date that says like for Sarah to edit and then write the show notes. And then she creates a podcast graphic. She also creates the audiograms, the little video shorts that will go on Instagram and YouTube. She creates thumbnails. And then I don't even know at the end of it. Oh, I have one other person that if there's a guest on the show, they send the graphics to the get, like everything is processed out. And so nobody has to talk to each other, which is nice. Usually they're texting, tagging me in Asana because I'm the one that's behind. And it starts with me recording the podcast. And if I haven't recorded it, then everyone else gets screwed.
That will be Abby.
Yeah.
Just
Poor
like,
Abby.
Yeah. Can you
Yeah, poor
Slack
Abby.
Krista? No, you can always tag her, and depends if you really need, then that's the only time I will Slack you. Yeah.
And usually it's
So
me. And usually my sister is one of the other people, one of my like assistants too. And she'll be like, hey, did you drop this recording? Or sometimes I'll record it and I'll forget to drop the link where it's supposed to be. So it says recorded, but nobody can find the link. That's usually me. And that's usually most of you listeners. You're the bottleneck in our business.
and that is why we have access to everything. So that's another thing I think that I want to point out. If you allow us to not take full control, but have access to all of your entry points. So for example, for Krista, we have access to your Zoom, we have access to your ConvertKit, we have access to everything. For example, for this podcast, if we don't see it on Airtable, we don't see the link. The first thing that Abby or any of my team member will do is they will just go into Zoom and check or look for the recording. So and that is something that I also tell incoming clients during our onboarding, that if you allow us to have access to all of the important entry points to your business in terms of accessing your platforms, it would actually make it easier for you and I to work together, because we won't need to bug you all the time. Can I have the link, or can I log in, or stuff like that. And that is also one thing, is at first they're scared, which is very much understandable, to just hand the reins to their Zoom account, to their inbox, to their EMRs, to someone else, especially if they've been doing it themselves for the longest time. We try to guide them to it and just assure them that as long as we have access to it, it would actually make your life easier, because at the back of your head, you know that we have access to everything. We should be able to work on the task smoothly. So it's actually a roadblock that we experience with some of our new clients at first, who are hesitant to give us access to what we need to access, because they still want to be able to control everything that, that passes through. But eventually, when they get to experience the whole thing of just sitting back and just waiting for the time for them to approve things, they kind of, oh, okay, so this is how it works then. So I just give everything. I give them a timeline, or they give us a due date, they give us a timeline. This is what I need done. We map it out for them. And then they just sit back and wait for the time we tag them for feedback or approval, or things are getting published or stuff like that.
Most of my stuff now is just approve. And it is true. Like Sarah's right. Like which is nice. She doesn't tag me and say, hey, where's the link? She's let me just see if it's in Zoom. And so she'll go in Zoom. And if she doesn't see it in Zoom, then she'll tag me and say, hey, did this get recorded? She'll even see sometimes, hey, are these social posts, are these all, because maybe I forgot to approve it, are these all approved so I can start working on the graphics? Like she knows me so well, like she knows ahead of time. Or she'll also know what's on my calendar. Like I was at my retreat last week, so I was behind on a few things. And so the other thing is we've gotten really good at setting due dates with a little buffer time so that we don't run into something really being behind. And it's really, I just have to tell you people, it's really been great. If you're in the Beyond the Movement program, so Inner Circle people, FitBiz Foundations, Sarah is in the Facebook group. So it's really nice sometimes when people have a website question. I'm like, Sarah, can you help guide people through if they're deciding between Wix and Squarespace? And I already know how you feel about Wix, but I'm just like, this way it's from a professional that goes, or between Squarespace and WordPress, right?
Yeah.
So WordPress is an amazing builder, but it's really hard to manage. And so if somebody wants to have some sort of ability to manage, Squarespace is a little bit better. So it's great in those groups. She does, even like from the difference between, do you know how to use Zapier? Will Zapier connect, I don't know, your Jane app to ConvertKit? There has to be an integration. She can answer that question really well. And so a lot of people in the mentorship groups have then decided to work with her in her own capacity. So let's tell everyone where they can find you. Obviously, you're going to link it in the show notes as well. But if they're just listening and they want to go visit your website, where can they find you?
Yes, we do have a website finally. So we set it up last year, catchcreativelabs.com. We set it up last year. We have our buttons there if you want to book a discovery call and get to know our capacity and how we can help you. So you can always book a discovery call on there. And then we're on social media, but that's the pains of running the social media of 20 other businesses. Right. Our social media is not that updated, but you can always drop a DM there as well. Or you can just...
You can go on my social media and see all the great graphics. That's all Sarah. And all the videos. That's all Sarah.
Yep. I do have, you can just go to my website, to our website. We have a link there to book a discovery call, or you can just ask Krista for my email.
Yeah. Or you can tell her you heard her on the Female Empowered podcast.
Yep. We are opening. We actually closed for this quarter, and then we're reopening again for June and July onboarding. I gave the team a 3-month break. So I was like, I'm cutting off any clients for this quarter. So just to give everyone a breather. And
good for you.
We are. Yeah, and I forgot to tell you that I actually onboarded and hired our own project manager, or PM. Started with us last month because it got into a point wherein I need somebody to tap my VAs or my QAs and my lead VAs to ask them where we are on certain things, because I can't do it on my own already to the point. And then also it's just that I wanted to scale the agency a bit more, and like you always say, delegate to elevate. So in order for us to do that, in order for me to do that, to grow the business more for my team, is that I really need to get somebody in to help me managing my team. And as any founder, it's been difficult, like for the last 6 weeks, for me to just give it all to him. Like you can talk directly to my QA, so you can talk. It was a process for me. Like I was anxiety. I can't sleep. What if he doesn't get it? What if he doesn't, he doesn't communicate the way I communicate with Abby, something like that. So I was anxious over it. At some point, I got over it and I realized how much headspace and mental space I actually acquired after I had him for the last 1.5 months. So it is something that I tell new clients or clients during discovery call. I remind them that at the end of the day, why do you want to have a VA? It's because you want to take out the work that you are not that passionate about, but it's something that is important for your business to run. So, like
Yeah.
if you want to grow, if you want to launch more services, launch more products, then unfortunately you won't be able to do that if you're doing everything yourself. Because to be honest, during discovery calls, there is still some hesitancy that I get from new clients, like, what if you guys don't get my branding? Or what if you guys, so there's that, they're hesitant about that. So I assure them that it's a learning curve for everyone. We get to learn you, your core, your messaging. You get to learn us on how we work and how we do things. That is why the way we set up our plans is that you can pause or unsubscribe anytime, like after a month.
Hmm.
So if things are not working out, or if you feel like you jumped the gun too early and hired somebody, you realize you really don't have that much work for us to do, then you can always pause or cancel the subscription or the plan. And then when you're really ready to get a VA, then usually they come back and then they re-opt in or stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's important, like Sarah's going through, she just explained to you that the hesitancy she had with relinquishing control and delegating stuff. It's hard because when we're the founders, we have a certain expectation. We're high achievers. We tend to be, but what she said, which I want people to hear, the amount of headspace that she was able to get back. And that's what I talk about. It's not just time, it's the energy. You cannot get back, and like time and energy once it's gone. So like you have to give yourself the time, rebuilds your energy, which gives you more energy to and bandwidth to do the things that you love and you're really passionate about. And give it, it's like I tell my kids about trying food that they don't necessarily like. Just what's the worst that's going to happen? Just try it. Try it for 3 months. You have to, though, be okay allowing people to make mistakes. So if Abby or whoever on the team maybe doesn't get your purple exactly the same, just tell them. It's
Yeah.
fine. Hey, I just said to Sarah on our website the other day, I was like, listen, I'm not loving the font so much. Like I have to tell you now, like I just want to go back to the old font. I don't know what it is. And she was like, okay. She sent me a couple options. I'm like, I like this one. Let's try it. She's okay, give us to the end of the week. I'm going to run up some mock-ups. It's fine. It's okay to say that, and it's okay to give it some time. Now, if you are going back and forth and it's still not getting done, or people are still missing deadlines, which I don't think is going to happen when you hire Sarah because she's great, you have to have that communication. But if at some point you feel like it's not working for you, then it's okay to say, you know what, I tried it. We're just not the right fit. But recognize it might be you and not them. It might be you as an owner. Like you might be the problem. Okay, I'm the problem. It's me, Taylor Swift. Just recognize that. So, Sarah, I don't want to take up any more of your time so you can go to sleep. But what do you have any parting words to leave for anyone before we say goodbye?
I think just that the assurance that if you get a VA, just fully trust the process. So, because it is a process and it's not a process just for you, it's also a process for us. And the starting point is just like what you said, just give it a try. It's not like your business is going to go under if you get a VA that will work for you in 1 month. So, you will never know what amount of what they call this, what other services or what other products or how bigger you can scale your business if you get outside help. It doesn't need to be us, it can be somebody else, but it's always that. Just trust the process, just give it a try, it doesn't hurt. Get it from me. I trusted the process. I finally gave in and got myself my own PM to help me run my team. And a month and a half later, it's yielded a lot of positive things for me personally as a founder, because I'm able to sleep, I'm able to do a lot of things and plan a lot of things now for the business. So yeah, so
Yeah.
just trust the process, give it a try. It doesn't hurt, and we don't cost that much.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's amazing the quality of work you'll get out, and you'll be helping another female founder. And the more money, I
Yes.
believe, the more money we put into female business owners around the world, the better impact we will just have on our families, our communities, and the people that work with us. And that's super, super empowering. So thank you to Sarah and Abby and everyone on her team that make my life and my vision for my company come true. And it's been like a pleasure. Hopefully one day we'll meet in real life. One day
I
we'll do that. I know.
know.
All right. Make sure check out the show notes. We're going to link everything up. Check her out, catchcreativelabs.com. And until next time, my friends, bye for now.
Bye.